For the first of our Eyes Wide Shut Secret Society comparisons, let's tackle Freemasonry. I've read accounts of Freemasonic initiation rituals and heard them described by former Masons, but never have I come across a description of Venetian masks or sex as part of the setup. It's mostly a lot of scripted role-playing, and it involves threats to initiates that they'll have their heart or tongue cut out if they reveal the secrets of their lodge, and so on. There are even YouTube videos of these kinds of rituals. Amazing that those kinds of rituals aren't clamped down on, considering the illegality of such threats. One former Mason I met told me he left after the first degree initiation because it terrified him having a rope around his neck at the age of 18, but a woman I met who was the widow of a former Mason told me she and her husband considered the threats to be childish role-play nonsense. College fraternities in America do stupid ritual initiations as well. Hardly any of the Masonic ritual stuff I've read and heard about is reflected in Eyes Wide Shut, except perhaps the threat that Bill receives about keeping it all a secret, and the fact that robes are worn and there appears to be a Grand Master as is found in Masonic lodges. The whole thing does have a bit of an initiation vibe to it, but that kind of stuff isn't restricted to Masonry. However, there do seem to be picturesque elements of the symbolism found in Freemasonic tracing boards, namely columns, the god symbolizing eye in a triangle or its variations, and also the sun and moon and the checkered floor. There are plenty of columns in the ritual scene. A pair of them are present in the library section of the orgy, and between them is a rectangular arch above a painting. It's easier to see this arrangement in daytime photos of the original filming location. This room is in Highclere Castle. The background triangle, as I called it, isn't quite a triangle, but note that Kubrick has chosen a camera angle that places that structure directly in the middle between the two columns. The diagonally checkered carpet is also part of the original location, so if Kubrick has gone for a Masonic tracing board parallel here, then it seems he's chosen a location that just happens to vaguely feature those three elements and has positioned his camera accordingly. It may be noteworthy that this is a library too. The Masonic tracing boards are claimed to convey keys to knowledge. Relating to this composition, the Harford apartment is a constructed set, yet it has features that parallel the Somerton location. In this opening shot we have the columns again, and this time the triangular arrangement stuff is created by the red curtains and window blinds with an apex at the top, pyramid and eye stuff. This is easier to see in the full 4:3 framing from the DVD release instead of the clipped HD version. Masonic tracing boards don't usually have an overt pyramid, but they often have the shining sun or eye of God with rays flowing downward in a pyramid fashion. This scene certainly relates to the orgy, by the way. Alice drops her black dress to the floor and is left wearing only high heels, just like the women in the ritual dropping their black gowns, but also keeping on their high heels. We get these same kind of curtain arrangements in other apartment scenes too, including in relation to a Christmas tree, which happens to be a triangular structure with a shining apex. Okay, I'm going to take this columns and triangles stuff a bit further, but I'm not convinced of all these examples, by the way. I'm presenting them to you for your consideration. When Bill enters the mansion, we have columns on either side of the door and red curtains again tapering up to a sort of rays of the sun window at the top. Bill crosses the room and we get two more columns with a lamp between them. Lampshades are vaguely triangular and shine their brightest light downwards in a triangular manner. The guy who took his coat goes through another set of red curtains in a pyramid and apex arrangement. This is also between two columns. And then Bill enters a last door between two columns. No triangle here, but there's a sun or flower-like design above the door. Bill goes into the next room and we have another lamp in the background, this one casting a very specific triangular shadow beneath, and there are columns etched into the walls on either side. We then pan from this to the ritual itself, which Bill has to pass through another set of red curtains to see. Jumping ahead a bit, we get a long reverse shot of the room where we can see the tapered arrangement of the curtains where Bill entered, but note the big continuity error. The lamp is either gone or switched off. It should be visible on the right. Now we have columns all over the place here which Kubrick had no control over. They're part of the location for this room, which is Elverdon Hall. No triangles or pyramids here as the ceiling arches are round, but the big red carpet was not part of the location. That's been brought in by the filmmakers. It's in a square shape, and there are 2 single light sources for the whole set. One above Nick at the synthesizer, and one right above the red carpet in the centre. What else has a square base with a light at the apex above? You guessed it, it's the pyramid and all seeing eye. Now I'd be willing to pass this stuff off as coincidence, except for the fact that we see a mask later on in the same room which has a pyramid and eye design in the colours of the dollar bill. It's unmistakable. Incidentally, we have a moon face in this shot too, and in some of the wide shots there are sun and moon masks. The sun and moon are usually present in Masonic tracing boards. Regarding sun gods, there is an Artemis gallery seen later in the movie. Now the word Artemis has 2 meanings. It means a small portable piece of artwork, and evidently this is an art shop, but is also one of the names given to a sun god worshipped thousands of years ago in a Middle Eastern kingdom called Urartu. The same sun god was also known as Ra or Mithra. Artemis is such an unusual word, and the fact that these street scenes were constructed sets suggests intention on Kubrick's part. The shop name is in big, prominent letters. In Freemasonry, the sun or eye symbolises God, as it does in many other religions. I even wonder if those eye-like hooded faces in Kubrick's alternative storyboards for the ritual are intended to look like big eyes. They're so specifically drawn. A lot of this stuff overlaps with astrology and witchcraft. Remember I noted the book Cult and Occult by Francis King, which was one of Kubrick's research materials? Well, Francis King was an occultist and was heavily involved in Freemasonic-like organisations. He was a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, an organisation that was partially modelled on Freemasonry, and practices alchemy, tarot, and all that nonsense. Obviously I don't believe in witchcraft, by the way. Golden Dawn apparently had its manuscript written by a Masonic scholar named Kenneth Mackenzie. So again, lots of Masonry, occultism overlap. There has been a lot of membership cross-pollination between the two over the centuries. As for astrology, this newsstand setup shows plenty of horoscope publications, including the tabloid Sun Predictions. Seems to be quite fitting. Bill is wondering about his fate, since he's obviously being followed. So, summing up, there does seem to be Masonic tracing board imagery weaved into the film, particularly the ritual and orgy scenes. It's hard to mistake that for any other secret society stuff because the combination of 2 columns with the triangular or pyramid arrangement between them is quite specific, but the ritual itself, the orgy and the Venetian masks, none of that seems to match up with Masonic rituals as far as I can tell.